Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Walu. A reminder, we are streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. It is Tuesday, which means I'm joined by the Fan Morning Show's Blake Murphy.
Blake Murphy.
Tuesday! Blake? How you doing? You good?
Better now that my mic's on?
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Yeah. It is Tuesday.
Sure
it's
is.
LeBron screaming Tuesday. You know.
It's one of the things LeBron's been screaming in the last 24 hours.
We'll definitely get into this because you know what? I actually come into the studio. The first thing I said to you, I mean, other than hi and how are you and stuff, was just, just thank goodness for LeBron, because without him, this game would have been very boring to recap. The Lakers are just like really bad. I mean, look. Maybe we start there, just outside of the LeBron stuff. Just, I don't know. What was the lowest point for you when you're watching this Lakers team? Which, I mean, wow, they suck. that roster's bad.
They're really bad, and I know they've dealt with some injuries and stuff. And Anthony Davis is a huge loss for an extended stretch of time.
Yeah.
But if you have Anthony Davis as one of your stars, you kind of have to anticipate that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. I don't want to like tap dance on their grave or anything, but
No, let's do it.
all of these issues were completely foreseeable. We all, like, as NBA Twitter and an NBA media community, all reacted to this stuff in real time with like, what the heck are you building around LeBron? Look at the history of LeBron, especially the recent history of LeBron. And it's not aging, grinded out co-stars that have seen him at his best. It's, he doesn't need to play a breakneck speed or anything like that, but having him play, small forward sometimes next to Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard, or having him, Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony are the guys who take the minutes when he sits down. Like, that hasn't been the formula. And the Russ thing seemed doomed from day one. I'm actually okay with the Melo thing because he can still get a bucket off the bench, but they're just like, they price nothing but downside into this group with how old they built around him and how slow they built around him. And I want to root for some of these guys. Like, I want Stanley Johnson to have a career. I really like Malik Monk. I think even like Wenyen Gabriel plays 19 minutes last night.
Oh, by the way, he had a tough game.
He
man.
had a tough game.
He airballed a lot of threes, missed a lot of layups, got blocked by Pascal. LeBron yelled at him. It's a tough night at the office for Wenyen.
Tough one for him. But there are guys here that I'd like to see do well, including LeBron. Like, I don't want to watch LeBron. It'll be good for a chuckle if they don't, like, they got to win 2 playing games at this point to get into the playoffs. And it'll be good for a chuckle if they don't, like, GM LeBron, whatever. But I don't want to watch the playoffs without LeBron. This is like maybe one of his last years at this level of play. And he's one of the great, like, he's probably the greatest player you and I will get to watch. Like, I don't want him to go out like this. I would rather the Lakers be competent, but they're not even close.
Yeah, they're not even close. We saw that team yesterday come out with zero life. The Raptors got up 19-2, then they got up 30-6. The Lakers called the first timeout in the first quarter. Yeah.
Over 6 minutes before the Lakers got their second basket.
That's right. That was like 5 minutes and 50-something seconds left when Avery Bradley picked up a loose ball in the mid-range, and he was like, I might as well take this. Who cares?
Yeah.
And you know what? The rest of the game, the Lakers were able to sort of junk it up a little bit. The Raptors had some struggles offensively, and, we'll get into all that kind of stuff. But it was just one of those games where it was over immediately. Like, the Raptors went up 20 points within 3 minutes and just stayed there the whole game until the Lakers made a weird little push at the end, which was, fine. I mean, I think the Raptors offensively, like, my assessment, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, is my assessment was just, okay, you come out strong and you land the first, like, 5 punches on your opponent and you're all hyped up. You're executing your game plan. Scotty in the post, Pascal in the post, kick out to the shooters, and crashed offensive glass. You're winning on all fronts. And you get a total lack of response from the Lakers. Like, they're not even rolling over. They're just not even doing anything. They're just staying there. And I think at some point you're just like, well, I mean, I guess we can just kind of chill out a little bit, because it's kind of a natural reflex. And I thought the Raptors could not really fully regain their aggressiveness in the second half. But again, they didn't really need to. The Lakers made a bunch of just not even just like, okay, this team is dysfunctional. They lack talent. They have injuries, whatever. they were just making like boneheaded basketball plays all night.
Yeah, and like to put it in context, just how far away the Lakers were, they shot after their cold start. They went 13 of 27 on threes, and didn't come close to making it a game. Like they shot 50% from that cold start onward.
And by the way, that cold start, 0 for 16 from 3 to start the game. Even as a Raptor fan, I was like, this is bad.
This is what are you playing against the Miami Heat zone? Come on.
Oh, God. What are you playing against Dwayne Casey? Right.
So by Impredictable's win probability, like by 7 minutes into the game, the Raptors already had a 92% chance of winning. And like I know score effects is something we study more in soccer and in hockey, of like how your tactics change once you have a little bit of a cushion and stuff. And we don't, mostly in basketball, it comes down to what players you roll out there. That's where score effects come in. It didn't really get to that point in the game. Like Delano and Armani Brooks played a couple minutes each, but they didn't empty the bench at any point. So yeah, it was just kind of, I don't know. It seemed like anytime the Lakers went on like a 6-2 or like 8-3 run or something like that, then the Raptors just had a good couple minutes and settled right back down, and that was it. And like they kind of took turns with it too, where there were stretches this game where Scotty Barnes dominated, stretches where Pascal Ciakam dominated, and stretches where Gary Trent just started hitting ridiculous shots after another cold start. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't easy. Like the Lakers made them work and made some of their guys play 40 minutes, but like this was not it just doesn't feel like playing against a LeBron team right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think LeBron still made himself front and center. And look, this is a Raptors show, so let's definitely talk about the Raptors first before we move on to the LeBron rage meter, which we'll definitely get to later in this segment. Okay, so let's start with the fact that, as you mentioned, guys took turns dominating. Scotty Barnes definitely had the first turn dominating. First quarter, he goes 7 of 8 from the field for 15 points. Perfect 6 of 6 from the field to start the game. He had a highlight against LeBron.
Yeah, I think that was the 6th one, right? Like he starts 5 of 5, and then he gets LeBron. He gives him the little look of like, LeBron's on me, and then he's like, no, I'm gonna do this, and then he lets a little hook go.
No, it was beautiful, man. It was beautiful. You turned LeBron into a highlight, which is great. And yeah, I mean, he didn't touch the ball as much going forward. I think the Lakers switched up their defense a little bit, played a lot more zone. Whatever. There wasn't as much of like, hey, let's have Malik Monk or Austin Reeves guard Scotty in the post single coverage. That's not going to work, man.
No. And this is the thing when you like offensively shifting LeBron to the de facto 5 is supposed to open things up for you, right? But when you have Stanley Johnson and Russell Westbrook as 2 of those pieces, it doesn't really give you the spacing and the dynamism that like these are not players. Like, remember the Kevin Love or Channing Frye versions of LeBron small ball? Like,
no, that was devastating.
You surround that with shooters, and a couple guys like Dellavedova and Richard Jefferson suddenly look like Jason Kidd and Vince Carter, like playing alongside that unit. So you lose some of that with Westbrook and Johnson being the guys, and then Wayne Ellington is a nice shooter off the bench, and Taylor Horton Tucker had a nice night, but there's not the shooting that you want. And then defensively, well, LeBron and Stanley are your only guys with size. And Stanley tries really hard, but he had a bad game last night and basically rode the bench for the last 3 quarters. And then, you've got guys you can pick on. And they start 3 of them. And then they also bring Melo off the bench who, again, he's a big body and he can be fundamental, like positionally sound, but he's a guy you can go at. So this is one of the things with the Raptors being so big is they're a hard team to match up with, even if and I don't think the Lakers had a talent advantage last night, but you can look at some teams around the league, and even if you have a talent advantage, the Raptors can be tough to match up with. And, that hasn't materialized in great half-court offense yet, but I think they're nudging there.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, listen, and they still do things around the edges. I mean, once again, it's another example of the Raptors winning the possession battle, 19 offensive rebounds, 9 for the Lakers. LeBron snapped on one of them. We'll get to the LeBron meter. It's just hard not to talk about LeBron.
You keep teasing it. Why don't we just do it and then move on?
No, listen. This is a Raptor show. Scotty had a great performance. We got to talk about that. I think for me, it's just him since the All-Star break. Like, this is just a regular game. Like 21-9 with 5 assists. Like, it's just a regular game, which is wild. Just think about that. This is a rookie we're talking about on a team that's winning, on a team that's competing, on a playoff push. And without certain guys in the lineup, I think he's really taken it upon himself. Obviously, without OG, Fred's been in and out. he's taken upon himself to say, look, I can do this. And I think the teammates are sort of finding more trust in him, which is great to see. I mean, the other guy who's been great is just Pascal. I mean, you know what, 20, what do you have, 27 yesterday?
28?
27, 11,
yeah.
5, 1 and 1, 9 of 17 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 7 of 10 from the free throw line. A lot of encouraging signs. This is like as close to an ideal Pascal stat line to me as there is. Obviously him getting to the free throw line is great. Him playing through contact was great. But the 3-point shooting actually of late has been really nice to see. I know like it's not a big focus of his game, but obviously without OG in the lineup, you just kind of still need a couple more threes from everybody just to sort of make up for that gap. And Pascal's been like, yeah, that's fine, man. I could shoot threes. He can shoot threes. He just doesn't need to hit the three to open up the rest of his game. It's sort of just like if he can hit 1 or 2 threes, it just makes life for him much easier.
Yeah, and he's shooting 36.4% since the All-Star break. That's not a crazy volume, but it's 11 of 33-ish. Rounding off there, it's not actually that, but 12 of 33 maybe. Whatever it is, he's shooting 36.4%. That's perfectly fine. Like that's a league average shooting mark, and he doesn't have to be any more than that for that to be a good show me weapon. Even Scotty Barnes is shooting 32%. It's small volume, but again, those are exhale threes where Gary Trent and Fred VanVleet on an average night since the All-Star break haven't had it from outside.
Yep.
And as much as Precious Achiuwa and Chris Boucher and Thad Young can hit threes at times, they don't provide you the same level of spacing. So you need Scotty Barnes and Pascal Ciakam to knock down a couple of them just here and there, and that's great. To close out the Scotty thing too, he's second on the team in scoring since the All-Star break. Like it's not a blip. He's outscoring Gary Trent and Fred. And I know both those guys have been cold, but this is an 11-game stretch now where he's averaging 19.2, 8.5, and 3.5, and he's shooting 57% from the field. Yeah. He's even got that free throw percentage up to 72, 73, which, not a huge sample, but that's going to be an important thing for him moving forward because with his physicality and his nose for the rim, he's probably going to be at the line a lot. So tons of growth. And, Ciakam and Barnes, even with the teammates around them shooting as poorly as they have been, combining for over 8 assists a game between the two of them, that's great. I mean, this is what they envision with having a couple of forwards who can handle the ball and pass, right? Is Pascal and Scotty having not identical, but very, very similar stat lines every night.
Yeah. I think 2 things for me. Number one, what you said about their ability to create and play make. That Nuggets game was so good on multiple fronts, but when you looked at it, you had Fred out of the game. Armani Brooks is your starting point guard. And as we covered in the Armani Brooks report last week, even though he's guard sized, not really playing a point guard role, mostly just catching and shooting, not handling the ball, not setting up plays. It's not his role right now. That game, Pascal and Scotty combined for 17 assists and only had 2 turnovers. And they were the go-to options the whole game. That's remarkable efficiency. They both also shot 50% from the field in that game. That was great to see. And then in this game, I mean, once again, you just have guys sort of taking turns. And I think, to me, one thing that's always stood out with this sort of playing positionless is just like a lot of teams don't have 2 guys to match up with these 2 guys. So there is going to be an advantage across the board. When you're big like that across the board, you will have situations where Malik Monk is just covering Scotty in the post.
And this is why when we talk about what this team looks like in the future and moving forward, like I get that everyone is 6'9" except for Fred could be a strategy 1 through 5. But I start to think on what if you're just huge 2 through 4 and have a regular center? Like you see last night, and Precious is small by the standards of a center, but he has a double-double last night pretty quietly, adds a couple blocks. So let's call Precious a center for argument's sake instead of power forward. Then suddenly you're and if you had dropped OG back into that game, you're huge everywhere except point guard. Even Gary Trent has good size for a 2 guard, and sometimes he's the smallest guy on the floor. There are advantages to that. There's matchup advantages. I think that's a big component of why they've been so good on the offensive glass this season, second in the NBA. Part of it's empowering guys to crash and stuff like that. But you're also like, they're nominally small because they don't start a center, but they have a size advantage almost every night at 2, 3, 4. And then usually coming off the bench as well. Because how many other teams bring 4 power forwards off the bench?
Yeah, I don't think any other team does that. It's a weird function of the Raptors. But no, I agree. I think there's real advantages to be created. And I think, coming into this season, like one of my questions was, okay, so you have OG who's going to play his role. I kind of feel like OG, with the fact that he's 3 and D, can kind of like slide in wherever. But Scotty and Pascal both going to play in the post. Can they both do it together? And I think in this recent stretch, they have really shown that they can do that, especially it's just a mindset thing. Like, you can almost run the same playbook for these guys, but you can essentially have 48 minutes in a game where you always have a big forward who's able to attack, create, score on the post. And what a luxury.
Yeah, I think that's the goal, right? And I think you don't include OG in there in terms of being able to pass the other guys. Like, he's good at picking out cutters if he's posting up, but he's not quite the same level of face-up facilitator. But you even see Scotty Barnes last night. A lot of his post-ups are like, I'm going to drive into a post-up. And that's hard for a team to adjust to because, well, if you don't know it's a post-up initially, where are your zone principles coming from? Where are your doubles coming from?
Right.
And maybe you anticipate, hey, Scotty's got a one-on-one. We got to be ready for this. But maybe you don't, or maybe you notice it too late. And the other thing Scotty can do to kind of throw a counter into that, and this builds off his success in the floater range too, is we see that play last night where he's operating at the elbow, the Marc Gasol spot, and he just throws a one-handed pass to Ciakam on the cut.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful, beautiful play. And that's two guys who are gaining some chemistry playing together. I don't really see a reason why they can't do more of that. And the Raptors have been pretty good cutting behind the screen to create some of those easy cutting opportunities when one of their forwards or even Fred is facing up at a pick and roll a little bit. So I think there's, I think some things are starting to click here a little bit. It's not like the offense has been gangbusters or anything. They had an O rating of 112 last night, and most of that was offensive rebound created and turnover created. Like, this team still struggles to shoot the ball.
Yeah, it was clear yesterday they struggled to shoot
But
the
you're
ball.
starting to see the process gains that the core pieces are having together, and that, let's be honest, Fred is going to find his spots no matter what when he's healthy, and OG is kind of the guy you shrug, and it's like, look, if you end up getting fewer touches and you're more of a spot up guy, that's what it is. These guys have outpaced you in terms of developing the one-on-one game and the self-creation game. It's Pascal and Scotty who you want to see that chemistry grow with. They're the novel pieces here, and they're the guys who have to learn to play off each other, because if they don't, they're kind of redundant. They overlap a little bit. But if they can learn to play off each other and find those synergies, and I think they are, that's really encouraging for what the offense could look like.
Yeah, I love the little high-low feeds too in the post.
Yeah.
It's been great. There was also the 70-foot high-low feed from Scotty to Pascal in the Nuggets game with a hit-head pass.
He's like, I could be Jokic too.
Yeah, he's like, man, I do this every day, man. Anyway, last guy on the Raptors I want to talk about before we get to this LeBron thing. Gary Trent Jr. So he ends up leading the team in scoring with 28 points. You're shaking your head because you're surprised too. I know, because
I know he did it, but like how he did it, I was like, at one point I looked, he's got like 4 points, and then he's got 25.
Yeah. First half, Gary Trent Jr. plays 17 minutes 35 seconds, 1 of 7 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. 4 of 4 from the free throw line, 7 points. Okay, extremely quiet by his standards. And then second half, he just goes off. And he obviously second half 6 of 12 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 7 of 9 from the free throw line, 3 offensive rebounds, an assist, a steal, a block, 21 points. Gary Trent Sr. in attendance.
Always in attendance.
What do you think happened, man? You think his dad came down and just gave him a quick pep talk? Like, come on, man.
I don't think so.
Trying to get back on the Raptors.
What I'm still unclear about, and maybe this is just if you wanted a snapshot of how bad the Lakers defense has been since Anthony Davis went down. Like, when Anthony Davis went down, they were a top 10 defense. And now they've slid. They're a little below average, I think, on the season. And during this stretch, they'd look a lot worse. Gary Trent Jr. had 13 free throw attempts last night. He had never had double digits before.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's guaranteed a career high.
Yeah, it's his previous career high was 9, and he had only done that once. That was actually just a couple weeks ago against a Brooklyn team that also couldn't really defend because they were missing a bunch of pieces. So, sending Gary Trent Jr. to the line 13 times, good sign that your defense is sputtering a little bit.
Yeah, and you know what? I liked Gary's approach in the second half. Didn't take as many threes. Although, I mean, it's not like he was turning them down, but it was like, get into the paint, the little teardrop. You had Malik Monk in the post, up fake, step through, and 1 finish. LeBron staring down.
Yeah, you're at Staples or Crypto or whatever it's called. You can get into your Kobe bag a little bit.
Yeah, listen, second half, Gary was doing really, really well. I just like, look, for me, I know he's going to be streaky, but can he be streaky sort of within a course of a game? Like, I mean, we've seen entire games where Gary's sort of been just like out of it, right? Not shooting well, hasn't really been able to find his rhythm, one reason or another, whatever, but like he just hasn't really been in it. And I just don't want that to last for the whole game. Can there be moments in the game when you turn it on? And I thought yesterday was promising only in the sense that he didn't get stuck in the slump for the, that he had in the first half. He really picked it up in the second half and then ended up leading the team in scoring. Again, I don't know how this happened. It was pretty clear that Pascal and Scotty had it going and other guys were just kind of doing whatever. But
and he'd been in a pretty extended slump. Before that Phoenix game, he was shooting 31%, not on threes overall.
Yeah.
Over his last 11. And then he has that 42-point outburst. But that almost highlights exactly what you're saying, where he goes from having all these struggle games, puts up 42, and then the next game he's 2 of 13 again.
Yep.
And there was that stretch earlier in the season, which obviously we can't expect Gary Trent or anyone to maintain, right? That stretch where he had 30 plus points in however many straight games, and it was like breaking Raptor. It broke DeMar's record with I think it was 5 straight 30-point games as a Raptor. That level of consistency is probably just not going to be there when this team's healthy, because I mean, even when they're not healthy, because then Gary Trent becomes a bigger focus of the defense. But yeah, if you can get to like Pascal's such a great example, because he very quietly has had 20 plus in 7 straight games.
Yeah, first time in his career. Yeah.
And it at the same time felt like, of course he's had 20 plus in 7 straight games. It feels like he gets 20 every night.
Yeah.
But also, like, a lot of his consistency this year has been on a bad night, he's still finding a way to 16, 17.
Yeah.
And I think for Gary, it's on a bad night, can you still find your way to 14, 15 and not have those single digit nights that, this offensive environment can't really afford.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, I do appreciate that when he's hot, he can like single-handedly swing a game. Like that Phoenix game,
it's
for example.
It's a lot of fun.
It is really, really fun to watch. All right, let's get to that LeBron segment here. And look, it can be easy. All right, very, very nice, Blake. Very nice. For people watching on TV, that's what you get. For people listening, you're going to have to watch the video to find out what happened. But obviously, he's frustrated, okay? You look at the starting lineup. I mean, basically, like that's what he was saying repeatedly to the whole team. Look at the starting lineup, okay? Stanley Johnson, Russell Westbrook, Malik Monk, Austin Reeves. Was there help off the bench? Melo, Gabriel, Bradley, Ellington, Horton Tucker, DJ Augustine saw some first half minutes. That one took me by surprise. I forgot the Lakers had DJ Augustine.
Yeah, I tweeted as much, but it's a good night for the Raptors when DJ Augustine has a bad night.
I was going to say the Lakers actually do have a fair number of Gerald Henderson Award winners. I'm pretty sure Wayne Ellington has won it a few times.
Oh, yeah.
A former Piston.
I'm sure there are some Malik Monk ones from Charlotte as well.
Probably, yeah. I mean, and then, Stanley with the Tampa season. Anyway, listen. So I'm sure I understand why LeBron's upset. I understand that this team is 10 games under 500. I understand that there's not much for him to play through. Him last night, game time decision, literally 20 minutes before the game, he's like, all right, fine, I'll play. So, and then they come out and they give no effort whatsoever. Not just on LeBron. The whole team gives no effort. They're down 19-2. Frank Vogel has to call 2 timeouts in the first 5 minutes. It's not good, right? However, I think there's just still is a standard in terms of how you sort of perform. I mean, come on, right? So I wanted to get your thoughts on the rage meter. Let's just say 10 on the rage meter is, I mean, what's the angriest moment LeBron's had in his career?
I think a 10 on the rage meter would be he doesn't play that game. He's just so fed up that he's like, you know what? Call me for the play-in games. Okay. That's the 10 on the rage meter.
Okay. And then 0 is probably 0 is just 0. Okay, we get that.
0, we've seen it in the playoffs. What a completely unbothered LeBron looks like.
Yeah, 0 is when the Raptors tied the series in 2016 at 2-2.
That's not adversity.
And then he said, "This is not I've been in adverse situations. This is not one of them." Right. This is why, by the way, we're gonna hate on LeBron because that man caused us torment. Okay. All right. So that's the range. Let me just get your thoughts on these 3 plays. Number 1, second quarter. Pascal drives, double team comes to him. He kicks out to the corner. Chris Boucher has an open 3, misses the open 3. And LeBron looks behind him. He's like, oh, yeah, that's Precious Achiuwa. He's on the 3-point line. He may or may not crash, but let me just stand here and get this rebound. Precious ends up crashing because, of course, he does, and this is the Raptors. Jumps twice against LeBron, wins the tap out, and then a loose ball, I think Boucher or Pascal or somebody on the Raptors picked it up. LeBron slaps the ball, commits the foul. Then he grabs the rebound and slams the ball 3 times really hard on the floor and then yells at everybody else. Even though it was his man, Precious Achiuwa, who won the offensive rebound. But anyway, your rage meter.
I'm gonna go low with that one. I think that I'm gonna give that a 4 because I think that's he's mad at himself. He knows that he messed it up and he's gonna yell at other guys. But inside, LeBron's too smart at basketball to not know that Precious was his man. And
He
that
looked
was
back at him too, like he knew he was coming.
Yeah, so that's a low one. That's a more I'm disappointed in myself than I'm mad at everyone else.
It was funny because he was yelling, and then like Wendy and Gabriel walked across the camera, and I'm like, man, leave this man alone.
Yeah, are you really yelling at the guy who just got plucked from the G League to play 20 minutes a game for you?
Yeah.
Like
I mean, other guys could have helped LeBron. To be fair,
Sure.
that might be an example of, hey guys, let's wake up here. All right, it's the second quarter, we're down 25. Fans are booing us, whatever, right? But okay, fine, that's low, that's fair. Next play, later in the game, LeBron and Scotty are going for a rebound. LeBron ends up pulling Scotty to the floor. Whatever, it's a box out. It's a foul, but whatever, man. Pulls Scotty to the floor. Then LeBron, as the ball's going out of bounds, he has to jump to catch the ball. And he's not going to land inbound, so he's got to decide what to do. Now, I think it's a basketball play to throw it off somebody who was out of bounds, and Scotty was out of bounds. However, when you look back at the tape, there are two Lakers, Austin Reeves and someone else, who are waiting on the baseline like, hey, LeBron, throw it to us. We're going to start the fast break. We're going to do something good here. LeBron says, no, I am going to whip it as hard as I possibly can on a helpless rookie who's lying on the ground. I don't know if he hit him in the face or not. This is a big point of contention, but yeah, what's your rage meter assessment on this?
Yeah, that's like a solid 8.5. That's LeBron's mad when he's doing stuff where he has the guard up already of like, I'm not mad. That was just a basketball play.
Yeah.
Like he knows what he's doing. He saw those Lakers teammates.
Yeah.
He's letting some frustration out. And I don't know if it's at Scotty Barnes individually. And maybe with the keeping it in bounds, I would lower that on the rage meter had he not also like kind of armbarred Barnes to the ground, right? Like he was pretty physical. I thought it should have been a loose ball foul before he tried to keep it in.
Sure, yeah.
Not to get all, the refs, like whatever. You miss calls and it's LeBron. Fine. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt.
And by the way, the worst call of the night was Precious literally twirling like this in position, like a foot away from Carmelo Anthony in the fourth quarter. And they were like, 3-point foul. And the replay, I mean, Nick already used his challenge at this point, but the replay showed he was nowhere near, like literally physically did not touch.
Frank Vogel using a challenge with 20 seconds left in that game, by the way. He should be fined today. Like, he should be assessed the technical foul after the fact.
That's Jim Boylan behavior. He was in Jim Boylan territory with that one. But yeah, LeBron in this play, I mean, like.
So I give it an 8.5.
Okay, that's fair.
He knew.
I mean, look, it is absolutely a basketball play to throw it off somebody to save possession. It is. I'm not contesting this whatsoever. And if you want to throw it extra hard so they can't catch it, I understand that too. But
even if he caught it, though, he was out of bounds. You could have just lightly passed it to him, and then as soon as he touches it, it's out of bounds.
You could have lightly passed it to him.
Or you could have passed it to one of your teammates.
I'm thinking you could have just passed it to your teammates, because if you're focused on winning the game, and you can't be like, well, come on, LeBron didn't see him. Are you telling me LeBron doesn't have that core vision? Really? Really? When he's looking at the whole entire play, he can't find the player under the basket? No, I think he was taking some aggression on that play. It's really, I'm going to give that a 9, actually. I don't know how Scotty popped right back up, by the way.
I think it's one of those ones you got to, right? It's like when a guy gets hit by a pitch in baseball, the unwritten rule of baseball is you sprint down to first base. You can't let it show at all.
Okay.
Part of it might just be like, I don't know, maybe Scotty's like, you get the benefit of, he's obviously a very smart player, but to use like a term, like he's young and dumb. He's a rookie. He's like,
let's go to the next play.
Maybe you don't realize that. Maybe it's just cool that LeBron is frustrated with you.
No, this was not cool.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't cool. But good on Scotty for shaking it off, because I'm sure that is more annoying to LeBron than if Scotty had popped up and gotten his face or something.
I agree, actually. I really like that point. I think it really does show a lot of toughness to just literally move on to the next play, because that's all Scotty was. You're not going to phase
me while we're winning and I'm 6 of 6 from the floor.
By the way, so that play
it was at that point,
Scotty pops right back up. The Lakers have possession. The ball goes inside to Wong and Gabriel, and Scotty blocks him back to back at the rim. Just that's his focus, winning the game. All right, not trying to abuse other rookies. All right, and then last play, last minute of the game, LeBron at this point very tired of his teammates, was not running back. Alvin pointed this out on the broadcast multiple times, how many times LeBron was just not getting back in transition. However, with a chance to get 30 points at the end of the game, when the game was already decided, LeBron turns it on full speed, brings the ball up the floor. Pascal's in position. uses his off arm, gives it a little chicken wing, bumps him in the nose. Pascal's on the ground holding his head because, like, of course you would, man. You just took an elbow to the face from a man running full speed. But it's an and one for LeBron. No review on this play. You know, LeBron just like yelling at Pascal afterwards, like,
Yeah, that's low on the rage meter for me. That's
okay.
a pad your stats meter for me. That's not a I'm angry and I'm going to try to get 15 points back with this play. That's a this game's useless. I'm going to get my 30 piece and go home.
Yeah, I know there's that meme that's been floating around on Twitter where there's like 4 Lakers on one side and it's like AD, Westbrook, I don't know, THT probably, and Melo, or let's say something, and they're just like, LeBron, we're down 30. It's time to check out the game, and he's like, nah, I got to stay to get my 30. Hashtag just a kid from Akron. Hashtag year 19. Hashtag whatever. It's like, yeah, man, just get your points and move on.
Tell
but
you
like,
what, man, Melo was +7 last night. Westbrook was +4. LeBron was -21. I don't.
Okay, all right. We're gonna go to our break, but before we actually do,
throw out. I just killed the ± stat. It's dead now. Single game ± can never be used again.
Yeah, fair enough. Before we do go to this break, though, we wanted to let everyone know that for a limited time, only until March 21st, McDonald's is offering My McDonald's Rewards members 2 times the points on their purchases to get free McDonald's faster. We want to celebrate this promotion by giving away $250 in McDonald's gift cards. I know, Blake, I know. Every day this week until Friday, all you have to do is text a code word that we're about to give to you to 590, and you'll be entered into a draw for a chance to win $250 in McDonald's gift cards. Blake, I know you're pulling your phone right now. The code,
am I eligible? Is this against
I
the
don't
rules?
see why not, actually. The code word for today's episode is McChicken. So just text McChicken to 590, and you'll be entered into a chance to win $250 in McDonald's gift cards. All right, I think
That's one Big Mac order for Alex, isn't it? One when he does his 20
Listen.
Big Mac days or whatever.
I wouldn't be surprised. All right, it's a good spot for us to take a break. I'm your host, Wolu. You've been listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. Before we actually continue my chat with Blake, I wanted to tell you about Access Storage. You need extra space? Access Storage has affordable storage solutions at a store near you. Try 4 weeks free. Details at accessstorage.ca, and Access Storage is giving away an incredible Raptors prize bundle for their staycation giveaway, which includes 4 tickets to the Raptors game on March 18th against the Los Angeles Lakers, where you can watch LeBron play dodgeball with Scotty Barnes again, 2 hotel rooms at Delta Toronto by Marriott, and 4 Raptors jerseys. Like, this is an incredible giveaway.
I gotta do the sports writer thing. Do I get the Marriott points still for staying at the Marriott?
Talk to the concierge.
That's the PBWA 101. Do I get the Marriott points? No, that sounds like that's a fun night. That's I also
fun night.
I helped a friend move on the weekend, and they could use some Access Storage. So maybe I'll let them know, and
You
they
should
can win
let
some
them know.
tickets in the process.
Well, I mean, you know what? In order to get this prize package, all you have to do is listen to the code word we give you in today and tomorrow's episodes, and then text each of those code words to 590-590 to be entered into a chance to win. You can visit sportsnet.ca/contest for more details. All right, today's code word is Ciakam, as in Pascal Ciakam. There's really no confusion here. Yesterday's code word was Barnes, and I had to clarify that it's as in Scotty Barnes, not 2 Barnes, like in like a field.
Like plural of barn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna be like not Harrison Barnes. I'm like, if it's just Barnes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No, but you've got someone from like the farming community of North Dumfries or something. They're like, oh, my Barnes.
All right, Blake.
I mean, you did it. You brought it up. Let's talk about basketball.
Let's talk about basketball. Okay, so 2 things came out yesterday. Number one was the report on OG came back. The scans revealed pretty much the same scenario.
Yeah, not great.
So he still has the fracture in the finger, and it's really just like a situation where. So he's actually already played through this, right?
If we believe, I think it was February 12th or something like that.
Yeah.
Is the day he heard it, and we could see it. Everyone seems to think, like, I know the Raptors have said we don't know when, but there's that highlight of him kind of jamming it on the dunk, and then he's getting the shoelace treatment on the bench.
Yeah.
I think it was February 12th.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. In any case, the Raptors rested him essentially for 2 weeks now, essentially to see how the thing.
I mean,
heal.
really a month. He hasn't played since the 16th.
I guess that is
because
true.
the All-Star break was there too.
The All-Star break was there too.
So he's been off a month.
Yeah, I guess the situation is they're just gonna go through practice today, and I guess OG will participate if it has happened or not. To be honest, they're on the West Coast; it could happen a little later. But
it's probably they're probably practicing right now. Actually,
okay, all right.
It's 11:40 there. So yeah, they probably got that 12 p.m. UCLA practice. That's the usual in LA.
Yeah, word. Well, it was a great story actually that has been told about that practice. Just things that have taken place in that practice. Is that the one where Kyle sat on the ball in the middle of the court?
Allegedly. I wasn't there.
Yeah. Can we just revisit that story just quickly? Blake, tell the story.
Yeah. Well, there's 2. There's one. You had Norm on and told one, but that was the stripped down story, right?
That story is the Raptors coming to practice. Somebody on the team had like brand new practice gear. Kyle Lowry saw and was like, "Where's my gear? I want the latest gear." And according to Norm, Kyle stripped down and refused to practice until he got the new gear, which he definitely got the new gear. But it's anyway. This is the other Kyle Lowry.
Yeah. So this is during the 2017-2018 season. It's at a Raptors practice at UCLA, and this was from a Michael Grange piece at Sportsnet.ca.
Okay, yeah,
and
so
it's via Fred VanVleet. And he says the next day, that was our bench mob year. The next day we started playing 5-on-5. Casey put the time up. We're busting y'all ass like crazy by like 20 in 5 minutes. Coach is tripping. He ain't really engaged. So Casey tried to take him out. And he's like, nah, I ain't coming out. So this man is sitting down cross-legged. The man is crisscross applesauce on the court. Like, if I'm out, practice is over. And so DeMar adds that Casey told them to go over to the next court to keep playing. And Lowry takes the ball. And he says, if I ain't practicing, nobody's practicing. So that's from VanVleet and DeRozan via a Michael Grange story in March 2020. Very good stuff. Also,
I love Kyle, man.
Yeah, and the words much. Fred puts it in, the man is sitting down crisscross applesauce.
Oh, that's a quote. That's a quote.
That's a quote from Fred VanVleet. Yeah, historic practice facility at UCLA.
That's right. Yeah. So I hope Fred's not sitting cross-legged at half court right now.
Crisscross applesauce.
Yes. Oh my God. So we'll see how OG responds, right? That's what we're talking about. Yeah, we'll see how he responds. But I mean, ultimately, this is something he's gonna have to manage.
Yeah. What did you make of Nick Nurse's phrasing, where he said he as in OG has a decision to make?
Mm-hmm.
That made it seem to me like, I mean, look, it's been a month. If surgery would have fixed this, I think he probably would have had it. Like, it's a non-displaced fracture, so I don't know that surgery does a lot. Like, I think it's just rest.
Yeah.
That quote made it sound to me like this is a matter of pain tolerance and can you play capably through it, where we did see OG in a bit of a shooting slump, and that it's your ring finger on your dominant hand. That's going to affect your handle and stuff like that. Maybe your comfort level reaching for steals or to poke the ball away or whatever. What did you make of that frame? Am I making too much of that? Or
no, I don't think so. Look, generally speaking, I don't think Nick was like intentionally trying to like play mind games to the media like this. I don't think so at all. I just think that like when you put that out there, the onus now falls on the player, and I don't really like that. I mean, like, I don't think the health of the player is solely on the player himself.
Right.
I mean, it does seem to be a thing where it is like a lot of people have probably fractured their finger before. Like, I definitely have multiple times, and it's just like you eventually get to a point where you're more and more comfortable with it. Like, it probably hurts. Probably you get banged up. Probably things you can do. Probably where. I mean, the thing is, the trouble is that it's on his right hand, which is the shooting hand. It's on the ring finger. Like, I guess you can like wrap it up, and it probably will anticipate it being wrapped up if he's playing right now or if he comes back and plays. But
here's my worry.
Yeah,
it's
not going to get worse though.
There are
like,
only
it's a
14,
finger fracture.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get worse. There are only 14 games left in the season. So let's work under the assumption that surgery is not going to help this, because otherwise they would have done it. Maybe we're wrong, but it would be odd after a month to go back and get surgery.
What are you going to do? Like, surgically go in there and fuse his bones?
I don't know. Like a non-displaced fracture, I don't know what you do. Yeah. I'm not a doctor. Who's your doctor buddy that comes on the show sometimes?
Oh, Shankar?
Yeah. We got to ask him what's up. But
no, he's doing busy things like saving people's lives. So he's not listening to this.
Come on. Frontline workers, radio first, Raptors updates first.
All right.
No, so there are 14 games left in the season. So let's say the team sits down with OG today after practice and they decide we're going to give it 2 more weeks. And then suddenly you're looking at like there's only 6-7 games left for him to get right, get his comfort level playing through it, figure out your rotations and stuff like that. Obviously, you do it. OG's a good enough player and an important enough player that if he comes back halfway through the play-in game, you're like, well, we'll figure out a way to work him in. He's that important and that good to this team.
Yeah, for sure.
But it gets, the longer you wait at this point, like we're nearing the finish line here. There's a month left. The play-in game would be less than a month away.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm going to be very interested to see what the reports are out of practice today. And they have a double off day to start next week. So the game that I've kind of circled in my head is March 24th against the Cavs. That's, they finish this road trip. They come home for LeBron. Then they have a Philly, Chicago back-to-back. You'd obviously like to have him for that.
Yes,
and a finger injury, you don't really worry about the soft tissue stuff from a back-to-back that you normally would. But maybe you just want to give him those couple extra days. If he were to come back for that Cleveland game, that gives him 10 games. So I don't know. I don't, again, I'm not a doctor, but if it's been a month and it hasn't gotten any better, and Nick Nurse is saying things like he has a decision to make, this might be something we're talking about until the playoffs are up.
Yeah, which would be really unfortunate.
I hope I'm wrong.
Me too. But in any case, the Raptors also are dealing with Fred VanVleet, who has been in and out of the lineup. They've been resting him sometimes. They've been playing sometimes. He's had up and down performances. It's hard not to attribute like down performances to his knee not feeling well. Like, what did you make of his game yesterday? So he goes 3 of 14 from the field, 2 of 12 from 3, and really one of those was a kick out from Pascal where he had a foot on the line. So really, he shot 13 of his 14 shots were long jumpers. It didn't really feel like he was trying that much to like dominate the offense, really.
Yeah, but if anyone benefited from that being a 20-point game the whole way.
Yeah, it was Fred who was able to like still make winning plays. Like, there's no doubt about that. His defense was good. He was able to get into the
7
paint,
assists.
kick out. Yeah, like there were some good things. And to be honest, his his jumpers were like pretty wide open. Like I'm watching the attempts right now. A lot of these are like pretty open looks. But you got to the fourth quarter, and there were situations where you hold the ball a little bit, try to initiate, and a lot of these possessions he's getting guarded by like, I don't know, man, Wayne Ellington or Austin Reeves. Like these guys are not shut down guys in the slightest, and he wasn't really able to shake them. So
yeah,
is that a concern for you?
Yeah, I would say that the percentages are not a concern for me. Like whatever, it could just be a blip. It could just be shaking any rust off after all that time off. What is concerning to me is only 5 shots inside the arc over his last 2 games. So we're talking 78 minutes, and you mentioned the one long 2. He's basically tried to go in the paint for a field goal attempt 4 times in 78 minutes.
Right.
That to me is the concerning part of his profile this last little bit. Again, the defense and the smarts are there. You don't really have to worry about that. If anything, we're going to be fine through like a little residual knee soreness. I think the 3 ball is probably what you'd trust to be there, especially catch and shoot. But yeah, that they do, even though Fred takes a ton of threes, they do need him a little bit to put pressure on the basket through the pick and roll. So hopefully that ticks upward and we see a more aggressive version of him against the Clippers.
Like that, like his first game back from injury against the Spurs.
He was amazing.
Like that's the kind of like balance that you would expect to see when he's like fully fresh and ready. And I don't know. I mean,
8 threes and 7 shots inside the arc. That's a good mix, right?
Yeah.
And even that was a low playmaking game for him. I think that was one where he spent a lot of time off ball.
I mean, they were already playing a lot of drop defense.
Yeah.
Like you expect Fred to go in there and destroy a drop defense.
Yeah.
Especially with his ability to score. But it's something I'm definitely keeping my eye on because like if it's not something you can consistently, if you can't feel entirely comfortable with Fred being healthy and at his best, then there's a real ceiling that gets imposed onto this team. Even if he is just in the sort of like catch and shoot role, which you might say, well, that's what he probably does best anyway. And I don't disagree with you, but I think you really do need Fred just at his very best. And this wasn't like one of those games where I remember a game earlier in the season against Miami. I think like the Raptors might have won, they might have lost, I don't know, but like something like 16 of his 17 shots were threes. It's like, well, that you're playing a really good defense. They're locked in. That's the game plan. You're trying to open up the defense from there. That's like a planned thing. Like that's just him being aggressive within the scheme. This didn't even feel like that to me. It felt like just like he wasn't really trying to get inside. And
no, and
it's concerning, man. It really is concerning. Like I'm really worried about this.
I just brought up the shot charts for the last couple games. He's had three attempts kind of at the rim in his 3 games being back, and only one other one in like the deep paint. So that's something to watch because I do think that's indicative of his comfort level. And maybe it's indicative of Scotty Barnes and Ciakam handling a little bit more, and those just aren't there. But it is something, that's probably the main thing with Fred I'll keep an eye on against the Clippers because they're not, I mean, they try hard and they're scrappy, but they're not anyone's idea of rim deterring team, I don't think.
They should have got the job done against Cleveland yesterday, by the way. I'm disappointed in the Clippers. I mean, I just genuinely don't like that team, period. But like, yeah, I don't know. That team was could have been even right now in the standings with Cleveland. But in any case, last thing I want to touch on before we go. So Nick said before yesterday's game that he's going to switch around the center rotation a little bit. We saw Kem start against he started against the Suns, and then Precious started against the Nuggets, and then we saw Precious start yesterday against LeBron, which makes the most sense because the Lakers are going small with LeBron at center. What do you think of this approach? To me, it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't believe him.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think like Jokic would be a Kem Birch matchup. So right away you've tipped your hand that it's, I don't know. I think Precious has outplayed him. I think that's a convenient.
Well, he said he wanted Precious in for spacing in that Nuggets game.
Yeah, and maybe he means defensive spacing. Like they did, like you posted some highlights, I think, of how they defended Jokic, and it was keep a guy to Jokic at all times.
Yeah. Okay.
Like no matter what, even if basically face guarding him off the ball, like treat him like he's Steph kind of.
Yeah.
And Precious is better suited for that than Kem Birch. I get that. So maybe it's a strategy thing, but I just look at it as, I don't know, like we'll see tomorrow because Zubac is the type that like that would be a Kem Birch start.
Yeah, we will see tomorrow.
But I just think Precious has outplayed Kem for a good chunk of time here, and that starting group has looked fairly comfortable together.
So why can't Nick just say that then? Because even Kem, it's not like Kem lacks self-awareness. He came out after that Suns game and he was like, you know, a lot of teams wouldn't have played me with me in my current condition. That gives me a lot of confidence. But like, if Kem's already admitting that, you know what, because he's been dealing with injuries, his performances haven't been as good as he wants them to be, Nick doesn't have to come out and be like, I'm just platooning, you know?
Yeah. And look, maybe he wants to just keep that option open and
Sure, yeah. No, but I think he should, though. Like, it makes sense. It makes
Yeah.
more sense to platoon for me.
yeah. And look, among the Raptors regulars, Kem Birch has been on the lower end of, net rating and on-off stuff during this post All-Star break stretch. I think even Kem would tell you that he hasn't been particularly effective. I thought that's ticked up recently.
Yeah, he has, for sure.
The other factor, and Nick Nurse has given credence to this too, is that Precious and Boucher have a good chemistry off the bench that I don't know replicates as well with Birch and Boucher. When you look at, hey, what is that second unit, especially if Fred's back and maybe even looking ahead to OG's back, maybe that's a Barnes, Boucher, Achua kind of group. Well, Achua fits a little better with that kind of bench style, that bench identity that they had when they were healthier.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the thing. Nick Nurse has said this for 4 years about the starting lineup, and almost without fail, once guys are healthy, he goes back to the same starting five. So I think he'll settle on a 5, and then OG will come back and we'll have this conversation all over again.
He did kind of pull this with Serge and Mark, now you mention it. Because it was like, oh, we're going to platoon based on the matchup. I'm like, oh, okay. And then it was just Mark starts the whole time.
Yeah.
So,
What
anyway.
are you going to do?
It's all good. All right, that does it for us today. I'm your host, Walu. You've been listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review our show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. Thanks again to Blake Murphy, to our board producer, Dan Brandale, Jennifer Rolnick for helping us behind the scenes with the YouTube stream and also picking the music. And I will talk to you soon.